Oh, welcome everyone to a very special show this evening. I know it's Monday. You're going, Larry, it's Monday. Where is my 7 p.m. AMA sharp way? Well, we're not having that right now. Instead, we are having something very special. It is 6 p.m. on the East Coast, not 7. So some of you are like, wait a minute, I haven't got back to work yet. It's okay. Coming home from work. You'll see us soon. Special show with my man, the one, the only, Tim O'Connor. How are you, sir?
Larry, I'm wonderful, man. I always want to say thank you for number one, the inspiration that you've given me to express my voice and to participate in politics. Like beyond anyone else, beyond my mom, man, you were there for me when I was running for Senate, regardless of the fact that I didn't successfully get on the ballot. We went around and we made some noise, man, and it was beautiful. Okay, people heard us, people learned from us, people like us. So this show is about the DC, right? The DC is
Hold on, let me touch for a second. Because there's some people who aren't from New York who aren't going to get this, right?
Okay.
Right. New Yorkers get this already. But if you're not a New Yorker, the New York DEC is Department of Environmental Conservation. And they're basically like the forest cops, if that makes any sense. They're like that, right? They're supposed to be helping us. They're supposed to be supporting the environment. That is their goal. But there are a lot of people who are unhappy about what they're doing or how they're acting and how effective they are, to include people within the DEC. I've spoken to many of them who they're also unhappy with the way things are going. And so Tim bugs me and goes, hey, Larry, this is a problem. We got to do something. I said, you know what? All right, Tim, let's do it. So Tim, he's going to lead the way on this one, but I got a couple nickels and dimes I'm throwing here too. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, first of all, your nickels and dimes, you inspired this thought that popped into my brain, right? Like this DEC should be a service organization because on some level, I want to be clear, they are, all right? They do some things that are pretty amazing. And I want to start out, you and I and so many of our friends separate systems from people. And like you're saying, there's people in the DC that are saying, hey, the DC's stupid. It doesn't work right. Why not? Let's fix it, you know? So to start off, like I even wrote some stuff down, man. I never write stuff. I'm a babbler. I go off when I start talking, but I wrote stuff down and I want to cover it.
Go ahead, read it off. I want to hear it.
So the DC does some amazing, remarkable things that are important to our society and to all of us. They have a fair number of success stories, right? Like occasionally, perhaps they are a real problem for a lot of people, and believe me, they are. We may tend to forget that they have done some amazing, good, decent things. I live on a little hydroelectric generating lake in upstate New York, right? I have eagles that fly over my house. Okay, they're beautiful. 20 years ago, they were nearly extinct. You know, like
they
in
came
New York
back.
State, not in Alaska. In Alaska, they're like a predator bird or a vulture kind of. But here they were gone. All right. Geese populations were decimated. Okay. Turkey populations were in jeopardy, and deer populations were they were being overhunted. So the DC stepped in, did some basically wildlife management, and brought these populations back. Through rigorous enforcement of laws, which I wish that there was a better way than that, and I think that there is. But they've done some amazing things. They've helped identify pesticides as a problem in our society and helped eliminate use of really harmful pesticides. We had ospreys nesting in upstate New York this year for the first time. We've seen these big, huge water birds nesting near bodies of water. They nest on like light poles and stuff. It's the weirdest thing to see. Okay. But to continue the things that they've done well, they've eased restrictions on youth hunting, and they've even gone so far as to open up free days for fishing, license-free days for hunting and fishing for youth in upstate New York. Now, this doesn't correct a problem that they sort of created by being so rigorous in their enforcement against hunting, making doe permits hard to get, making it like almost forcing people into like specializing when there was nuisance problems with deer and stuff like that. They almost eliminated hunting on some level, and then they kind of really put the screws to it. That being said, they've done some good things. They've fish management, wildlife management. These things are important.
But let me step in for a second here. To be clear,
please do.
It's not like government doesn't have success stories. I think all government has some success stories. But there are two parts to think about. One, do the successes outweigh the failures? Right? That's number one. And number two, were their successes the only way to achieve successes? Right. So
Right.
the one I'll give often is some people talk about the war on drugs. They say the war on drugs, prison was the best thing for my cousin because once he went to jail, that's when he got clean. Now,
Correct.
that is a success story, right? So jail did clean somebody up. That is a success story. But what
Yeah.
about all the damage that it's done to all the other millions to keep your one cousin, have him have a success story? Number one. Number two, was that the only way your cousin could have gotten clean? No, that was a way, but it wasn't the only way. So I would argue the DEC in a similar way, right? Yes, it's
I,
had successes. The question would be, did it have more failures than successes? And the second thing is there another way to still achieve those successes other than what they did?
so that brings me to a big pet peeve of mine when we talk about the government and especially the government in New York State. Every
Yep.
step of the way, it's an adversarial process. When I have people representing what you just said, the war on drugs. Well, if my cousin got clean because he got sent to jail, okay, that doesn't mean that was the only way to do it. Okay, let's deal with the fallacy, right? Let's put this out there. There are people, a distinct segment of our society, that believe that people want dirty water, they want like dying fish, and they want to be able to dump their oil and their garbage in their local stream. Okay, that's a fallacy, okay? Not even
Yeah,
big
not true.
business wants to do that, okay? If they kill all their customers, right? If big business poisons all their customers, they have no customers. Everybody wants a clean environment. So, how do we get there
Yep.
without an adversarial process, right? How do we get there without an adversarial process? That's the question.
I think you've put the biggest point up that matters more than anything, right? Which is if I make it adversarial, by default, we're going to fight by default, right? When you make it mandatory, one of the reasons why I hate mandates, period, so much
Yeah,
is because mandates foster two types of thinking: blind obedience and blind rebellion. Both are bad. And the bad part isn't the obedience or rebellion, the bad part's the blind part, right?
yeah,
That's
well,
the part.
we've increasingly emotionalized our society, and where we're like this bizarre football team, right? And the libertarians are like the refs, but nobody's listening to the refs, man. All
I
right, like
know.
that's a reality. No one's saying we're like, guys, team blue, team red. Okay, you're both saying the same thing on certain issues. Let's just come to this mutual agreement that the state doesn't do everything perfectly, and that
Right.
there's room for the DC to become a service organization. Okay, so I have some stories, some anecdotes that I'm almost afraid of using people's names, Larry. Like I don't want retribution against them. But
Okay, so don't use that. Just
yeah,
say Bob or Jim or Jane, whatever. It's
yeah,
fine.
it's like I have a friend of mine, right? He wanted to small town upstate New York has been decimated over the years with the dying agricultural industry
Yep.
without the environmental regulations that don't allow for a replacement of industries that once
Yep.
existed here. Okay, so we're dying, we're decimating things. Like the increasing regulations on farmers makes farming distinctly less profitable. So this guy
No, the
basically,
DEC, you made a point earlier and you were right. The DEC is now by default part of the problem in New York State not being able to recover. They've now become part of the problem because there's not enough wealth to deal with the pushback from the DEC.
absolutely. And here's a perfect example, right? This guy wants to bring like a mini golf course to a small town to just we have some tourist stuff that goes on. He thinks that
Yep.
this would be a good way for him to retire. He likes people. He wants to do some things. He has a bulldozer. He bulldozes some water, some land to flatten things out to build his little golf course. And he didn't get the right permits, right? So now he's up against a $15,000 fine, right?
Yep.
And there goes his dreams of retiring to this little tiny miniature golf course that he was going to build himself, hands on, do all the work, destroyed this guy. He had to work like he's 55 when he starts this. He now has to work till he's 70. Okay,
Yep.
period. Like there was no, and then there was no entertaining little putt-putt golf course. Who knows if it would have like been a success story or failed? It doesn't matter. It was his life dream, and it was crushed, stolen, and the money ripped out of his hands. Like, and I'm like, did you fight him? And he's like, I talked to a lawyer. He's like, lawyer would have been 20 grand to fight a 15 grand fine.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Like, what
Yep.
are you gonna do? And so
What you've just shown is the idea that when you simply overregulate, when any agency, including the DEC, when any agency is just meant to punish or be adversarial, the wealthy win and the poor fail. Because the wealthy, one, they're giving money to the politicians. So the politicians are going to change how they feel, right? And they have lawyers on staff. It's not even extra money for them. They're already paying that lawyer a salary or lawyers salaries. So they're already paying them. So another lawsuit. Okay, that's what I pay you for. Deal with it. Meanwhile, me and you, we got to drop 20 grand on the lawyer. We don't have that kind of money to spend on this. So my point that I have with the DEC, and I think most people within the DEC would actually agree with me, is to change the mission of the DEC, right? The mission shouldn't be to protect the environment. Now, some people might be upset. Larry, you hate the environment. No, what I'm saying is you meld the mission to put us on the same page, and that is to expand and to build and to grow with the environment. That should be the goal. If that's the mission, now instead of saying, hey, Mr. Golf Guy, I'm going to fine you $15,000, instead of saying, hey, Mr. Golf Guy, let me show you how you get this done in an environmentally safe way. But my goal is to build, but to make sure that I'm killing off all the eagles.
Right. I mean, humans are part of the environment, right?
Yes.
Our interaction benefits the environment if we don't take it to extremes, right? Like harvesting protein, like mitigates disease. It mitigates crop encroachment. It makes things more successful. We're part of the environment. We use the environment. We survive. We exist because of the environment.
Yep.
And so when we ignore that simple fact and we appoint a government agency to dictate rules to us and no longer serve us. And guys, that's a common theme that you're going to hear from guys like Larry and guys like me and guys like Kevin Wilson, right? Let's throw in Kevin, you're going to hear that the government, and Larry, you're about the same age as me. I think I'm a little bit older, but I can remember a time where the government seemed more friendly, seemed more service oriented. And it's become increasingly authoritarian, and we get to this team red, team blue, and then we spike the ball on the other guy's face.
Though.
Yeah,
go one step further than this, and that is particularly in New York, all across the country. But we are the epitome of this. We are the epitome of using law enforcement as a profit center.
Oh, yeah, DC's, yeah,
that's the issue, right? DEC should not be a profit center, but it is, right? That's the problem. So the way you fix that is by literally saying something like this. I'm making this up for sake of argument. All fines and fees that come from the DEC, only $10,000 per year can go to the DEC. Nothing else. That's as much. Anything over that does not go to the DEC. Goes someplace else or goes back to the people or goes back in refunds, whatever. So what does that mean? Now the DEC is in no way, shape, or form concerned about raising money. So that means they will only punish people who they believe need to be punished. Not, look, I got to pay my bills. So sorry, Tim, $100. Sorry, golf guy, 15 grand. We got bills to pay. That's the wrong way of looking at it, right? Or if anything, to your point, you make it a service organization, so that when you want something, you pay for it.
Yeah.
Instead of finding me for 15,000, how about instead I give you 500 and you come inspect it and tell me how to build it?
See, now wouldn't that be perfect? I've got another great anecdote from my local neighborhood, right? So basically, again, I mentioned that I live on a little hydroelectric generating lake. It's in a federally protected water. The DC is charged with issuing permits and not issuing permits. So basically, a contractor is redoing somebody's lakefront, right? Which is good for the lake. Okay, we're keeping silt out of it. We're keeping lawn clippings out of it. We're keeping it nice and friendly and preventing erosion. So Basically, the contractor runs into an obstacle, talks to the homeowner. They make a slight adjustment to the plan. Yeah, maybe encompasses 5, 10 square feet. And so maybe 30 or 40 cubic feet of material. Okay. So like a tree stump is in the way, right?
Right.
The DEC comes out, fines the homeowner $1,500 for an insignificant issue. So now, and it's hilarious, right? My Trump loving neighbor wants that contractor to get like mashed into the ground, and my Biden supporting neighbor is like, I kind of feel bad for that guy, like because the homeowner is getting nailed
Yes.
for the 1,500, but they're going to sue the contractor, deride him, like try to destroy him because now the DC has created again an absolutely adversarial situation that should have been irrelevant. Like they should have said, well, with this permit, we allow XYZ
No, I'm gonna go one
adjustment
step
to it.
further. I'm gonna go even further. How about the contractor simply has to pay $500? I'm making that number up, right?
Right,
To
right.
a DEC rep who comes by, looks over the plans, and goes, nah, you got to move this, you got to move that, do this, and we're good. No fines, no fees before it starts, and tells them what's right and what's wrong, makes the plans effective, and then that's it. And
No,
then
yeah,
now all of a sudden the contractor's paying the $500. The contractor is the expert anyway. So,
right.
they're the ones who should know. You as a homeowner shouldn't know every single environmental regulation required, but the contractor should. So we
Right.
could use this, and then now it's not punishment. It is a fee that the contractor would happily pay.
Correct. And let me take your point a little bit further, right? This was an unforeseen consequence of excavating. They're like, oh, we can't actually rebuild this way. We have to change direction. And so that fee could include, hey, come out and tell us what to do here. And then there should be a certain amount of leeway, right? Like if you're only changing 3 cubic feet of dirt or 12 cubic feet of dirt, let's just let that slide. Here's the DEC certification. That's fine. So, and again, right, like New York State, upstate New York's devastated, at least in part by the DC, by high taxes. Well, I live on this lake. It was built during the time when the railroad was in its heyday. Like Oneonta, New
Mhm.
York used to be like railroad central, right? So, a byproduct of being built out are creosote soaked railroad ties. Okay.
Oh, sure.
So these things were used everywhere, right? Everywhere in contact with the water. And now, 110 years later, 100 years later, these things have all deteriorated, right? But nobody knows what to do with them. Everybody's afraid to work in the water, and then the DC doesn't really offer any services except for, God, if I do this wrong, I'm gonna get
Yes.
fined. I'm gonna get
Yep.
punished. I'm gonna get like sent to jail for damaging the environment. And it's like, come on, man, we gotta do better than that. It chases
I'm
people out of this state.
I'm gonna say
It's
something's gonna
nonsense.
sound crazy. I'm gonna say this, one good thing that the New York City Department of Buildings does. And upstate DEC in New York City, DOB, right? We're building in New York City, building, right?
Okay.
DOB, the one, this is gonna sound terrible, but the one advantage that we have in New York City is that the real estate lobby in New York City is huge. They have
Right.
all the money.
Sure.
Huge, right? Finance and real estate huge in New York City, right? So they set it up to where the DOB, if the DOB doesn't allow you to build your building in a certain amount of time, I think it's 4 months. I'm not sure what the number is. 4 months. If they don't give you a reason or anything, it's automatically okay. It is basically shall build, not may build. They must actually stop you, physically stop you, or you can build it. And I would ask you, when's the last time a building fell down in New York City?
It's been a while. I mean,
Thank you. Yes.
9/11,
So
I saw a couple buildings
fell
fell. It was
down,
pretty
not got
awkward.
knocked down.
Oh,
Sorry,
right. I see the
fell
difference. I
down,
got you.
not
I
got
got
knocked down.
you.
When's the last time a building fell down in New York City? That's kind of like not a thing, right? It's not a
Right.
thing.
It's not
And so my point is that same model should be working here too. So you said give them leeway. I agree, but you don't want to like let everyone get away with it and pollute everything. Of course not, right?
right.
But then you give them what's best. What happens sometimes, and most people realize this, the regulations are made to make you as safe as possible. But in many cases, the regulations go too far for safety. So you know when to pull back a little bit. That's the
Right.
point.
I think you're making some great points, and like I said, you basically inspired this to me. So one of the things I posted this on my page, and I got a bunch of comments. Right, one
Yeah,
of the
do some
comments,
comments. Tell me.
yeah. So like one of the comments was like, recently, my buddy just got arrested from the DC. He's walking down the street, doesn't have his orange blaze cap on. It's in his pocket. His gun's unloaded, but he's walking down the road. He just got done hunting. He gets fined for not having the proper safety gear. Like, okay, like revenue generators, slow it down just a little bit, right? They're just out there trying to make a buck. And then we get into this issue of pesticides being used and not being communicated. And
Oh,
people,
well, hold on. Stay on this one, the first one. Let's stay on the first
okay,
one.
let's do that. Yeah.
You're running down the road. I like the first one.
I'm like on
So-
fire here, man.
But again, the point that I think you've made here is I understand why that's a rule or a regulation. You don't want guys walking out there not with the orange on and getting shot, right? I get it. Makes sense.
Correct.
But my point is, if it's not about making money, does that guy give him the ticket? Of course not. He walks him and says, dude, I know that you're not hunting now, but you're still close, man. You should have your orange on. That's all he says to the guy. And your friend probably would have said, you're right. Let me put it on. I should have put my hat on. You're right. I should be safe. And that would have been the entire interaction, right? That's what he would have said. He would have literally said, dude, you kind of close. To be safe, you should put your hat on. And you know what? You put it on and walk away. But now it's money making. So he has to fine him.
Right. I think the DC has some mandates or some directives that they're supposed to self-support their programs, right?
Of
So
course.
they have to generate revenue, not unlike the state police, guys. And so when you get those headlight tickets or the tail light ticket or something like that,
well, to be forward,
me too.
I'm not against them generating money at all.
Right.
What I'm against is them fining you and generating money for nothing.
Correct.
But as you and I were talking, if they were providing services, right? What if the DEC provided certifications for people who could be trainers to hunt?
They actually kind of do stuff like that. All right. So
that should be the thing they do. Like that should be the thing they do, right?
Yeah.
They should be doing that. And then you can do, and again, it's not a license, it's a credential, not a license. So if you want to go show your buddy how to hunt without a credential, you can. But now you want to start making some money, taking people on hunting parties and stuff. You probably need a credential to do that, right? So you get your credential, and whatever, and boom. And maybe you even could take a DEC person with you on your hunting party, and you got to pay them a couple $100 so that they make sure everything's safe. And again, now they're making money, and you put that into your fees as you're charging people for the hunting party. Everybody's making money. DEC's doing the right thing. We're all talking about safety. This is win-win-win.
It is like, so that's the dynamic that's lacking in New York State.
Yes.
So we get back to some more of the comments, right? But there's both this overzealous prosecution, a guy who's not wearing a hat, walking down the side of the road with an unloaded gun, completely done hunting, gets a fine, like $100 fine because he's not wearing his blaze orange hat. It's obviously ridiculous, right? They're obviously generating revenue. I had a buddy working on a construction site several years ago, right? There's an excavation crew there and it's a rain day and they're underneath a bridge. These guys decide it's time to maintain their equipment. They're going to change all the oil, right? They're right next to a stream. They're underneath the bridge. They're like, they open up the oil ports. They take the bolts out. They let the oil run right into the stream that they're working on, right? My buddy, avid outdoorsman, conservationist, hunter, is like, oh my God, I can't believe you clowns did this. That's horrible, right? Somebody's got to get punished for that. Calls the DC. You think that the DC would want to correct that action? That's actually probably something where we can all kind of agree.
You shouldn't be pouring oil into rivers. I agree. Yes.
Probably a fine that's a good place for a fine. That's a good place for some punishment. DC doesn't respond. He's like, a week and a half later, this excavation crew's long gone. Somebody calls him back and says, hey, you made a report on such and such a day. Like, can we come out and investigate that? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't even want part of it now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the things that they should respond to, they don't. The things that they it's like a matter of convenience. I can generate revenue off of a guy not wearing his hat walking down the side of the road versus this may be a complicated, case to prove, even though it probably wouldn't have been. They could have went there and saw the oil floating into the stream.
Yep.
And so they did, that's
Well,
what
this
we're
is
up
why I
against.
was talking about. If you remember when I ran in 2018, I came up with the idea the DEC has to create a unit within the DEC called the EVU, and the EVU is the Environmental Victims Unit. Yep, sounds cool, like a TV show. I know. That's what it sounds like. Yes,
It
right.
does.
New York State DEC. Dung dung. Right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, I got it. The EVU, and the EVU is Environmental Victims Unit.
Why wouldn't it be?
And what it means is people think, well, Larry, you're trying to find people and no. I want individual responsibility. There is a unit that finds out, is there an actual victim? For example, if I don't have my yellow hat, my orange hat on, and I'm walking away, there is no victim. If I'm pouring oil into the river, there's probably a victim. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's a whole different thing. So now that unit's job is to investigate and then to provide that to the local DA or the AG. The problem is the DA doesn't know how to deal with this at all. An AG has no idea how to do it. That's why I don't do this at all. But if you have an EVU, now you can find actual victims and then punish people who actually are creating victims versus people who are just doing things I don't like or finding ways of not following the regulation that isn't hurting anybody. But if there's a victim, you find the victim and you let them know that there will be civil charges and maybe criminal. Now, guys, don't do that anymore. But not just as a guy not do it, but as soon as it's done and the boss hears it, the boss immediately reports it because the boss doesn't want to go to jail.
Correct.
The boss doesn't hide it. The boss goes, no. Let me tell you what happened. Let me explain this. Let me try to fix this right now before I get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of trying to cover it up, because what the EVU does is it breaks the corporate veil. It pierces the corporate veil. Let me tell you on a big scale, large scale. All right, there's me and you. We run a big company, and we're gonna do some crazy dig someplace in New York State. And you're the lawyer, and I go, all right, Tim, I got this plan. We're gonna make $190 million. What do you think about this? And Tim goes, yeah, sounds good. The max we'll have to worry about is maybe $10-20 million in fines and fees if we get busted. That's about it. No more than that. I'll make sure I'm the lawyer. I'll cover the rest. It's all we got. About 20, maybe less. And I go, wow, so making 160? Yeah, done. We go to lunch. It's over. Decision's done. We all go to lunch. Everybody's happy. Whatever happens, you're a good lawyer. You only make us pay $15 million. You get a bonus because you said 20. You get a bonus. We all make money. Life is good, right? That's how it works now. But imagine if we had an EVU. We now have an Environmental Victims Unit. So now we do this horrible thing. Bad people are hurt. And the AG comes after me and you specifically. Which people said, now everything changes. Now when I go, hey, Tim, what happens if we do this? You go, well, we'll only pay about $20 million, but they might come after both me and you if we raise our hands for civil and criminal charges. And then I go, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Maybe we shouldn't, because there's real accountability there, right?
Yeah. So I think that's how we fix that.
So I love that idea, right? And I think that one of the issues that the DEC does that's, I want to say it's inadvertent, right? But they prop up big businesses. So back maybe 15 years ago, upstate New York was replete with small local gas stations that basically incorporated a grocery store, right? And they changed the regulations and they said, look, you got to change your tanks at your stores. This is too dangerous. This is going to poison the environment. Not you have poisoned the environment, not you have created a brownfield. You're going to. And so it became too expensive for these little local mom and pop general stores to sell gas. Now, let's take a look at that. All right. I drive through this town called Prattsville, and I think that Prattsville at one point was at the epicenter of this particular issue. So they take the gas station out of the town. It's gone. All right. Now, the people in Prattsville, let's say there's 2,000 people there. It's historic. It's touristy. Like the closest gas station's 5 miles away. But Prattsville's a pretty big area. So the closest gas station for some people in Prattsville could be like 10 miles away.
Yep.
So what they have to do is drive 10 miles. They got to burn a gallon of gas, right, to get to the gas station and get back to wherever they're going. And so that is a burden, and it makes life more expensive for the people in Prattsville. And so I'm frustrated with the DC because they don't, like you're saying, they don't have a creative solution to that. They could,
But they don't have to. I'll go back to the same thing again. What
They
if
should have
when
to.
that happened, and we instead said, you know what? The state takes a bunch of tax money from gas. Why don't we create a fund from that tax money to support the small and local mom and pops and give them very simple loans that again will come off of taxation if they want to, right? To build those new tanks. The government created the problem, right?
Exactly.
So the government should assist in repairing it.
Even
Just
if,
so simple.
yeah, I'm at the point with Prattsville where I feel like as a punishment, right? The DC should have to build a gas station to their specifications and auction it off to like local families or local groups. Like a lot of these small towns deserve some sort of recompense like that. I know that doesn't sound particularly libertarian, but occasionally I slide away from libertarianism because
No. You're going back to an idea of what's called restorative justice. Restorative justice is also a libertarian ideal.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel bad about it anymore.
No, it's restorative justice, right?
Yeah.
Someone took something from you. You want to get something back. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Right? If you're saying you specifically, Tim, you got to pay back Larry for something that Bobby did. Well, that's a problem, right? But what I'm saying is the idea of restorative justice is not a bad thing, particularly if you're using monies that are already coming in, not adding any taxes, taking your money on the back end, assuming that they do well, right? So if you give it basically the loan and then you take it out of their taxes, now all of a sudden, if they sell more, you get more, you wind up getting it paid back. It can work over time. You can do it. But the problem is, we're not even thinking about that.
Right.
The answer is someone goes, oh, this is bad. Oh, it is? Well, what's good? Well, this is good. Okay, make them do this. What are the repercussions of making them do this? Oh, I don't know. They just have to do it.
They leave the state, right? Our entrepreneurial class, our motivated middle class, our people that want to be independent. They're like, you know what sucks? This state. See you later. You killed my family's business. I'm out of here. I'll go get a job in another state and I'll start a plumbing business or a carpentry business down the road because it's going to be easy. And we even have taken could you imagine with DC regulations, somebody trying to open a mechanic shop in a neighborhood? First of all, it's zoned out. Second of all, they're like, what are you going to change oil? This is what you got to have. You got to have an $80,000 containment tank for the oil to drain into specifically. It's ridiculous, right? Like we don't even, we could keep an eye on our neighbor. We would see these small messes. So inadvertently, or maybe it's not inadvertently, right? Like I'm always suspicious of the government. They prop up big business because big business, like you did that perfect example of the lawyers and saying, look, we'll get $15 million in DC fines, but we'll make $80 million on this project. Let's take the fines, do the project, and battle that out. It's still very profitable for us. And I think that's reality. And it's such a frustrating reality.
Here's the issue, right? All right. Here's why you're exactly right. If I'm mom and pop gas station, I have to buy all those things. Oh my God, how much money I have to put into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to repair and maintenance and all those things.
Right.
But if I'm Exxon or whatever, I'm, and this is maybe even Stewart's, who knows? I don't know whatever it might be, but I'm big company, right? I'm not buying one. I'm buying 400. So I'm getting a much lower rate in everything I'm buying.
Correct.
Not just that. I got to have a maintenance contract. My maintenance contract, way lower than you're going to pay.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably have maintenance people on staff who go around and make sure that my things aren't broken or old or whatever. I'm already paying for that because I have that kind of money to absorb it. So I literally have a maintenance crew that probably goes around to all my places. I'm not calling some guy when it breaks.
Right.
My guys are on the job all the time. So that's not going to happen. So yes, the advantage, it's the same advantage of franchises.
Right. The economies of scale, right? That's what we called it when
Absolutely.
I was going to college. It's this issue. So we see Dollar Generals popping up all over the place
Yes.
because they're a logistics play and because we've destroyed small town stores. So a small town store would need to sell gas to bring in the traffic, to
Yep.
get people to buy their Dinty Moore beef stew in a can, right? Like that's a
Yes.
reality. And so we've destroyed those innovative hometown local things through over regulation and a lack of cooperation. It just
Even with the interstate. The
yeah,
interstate,
exactly. No, I hate that.
right,
Yeah.
puts
Yep.
puts the stops there. So you can't drive into a town and buy anything.
I
And
I
it's all
know.
because they want to collect the tolls.
I know,
If
man.
you
I
end the
know.
tolls and then
Right.
you don't get money from and they get money for the state for renting the area out, and they're
Yeah.
always rent. There's no mom and pops in those. It's all big franchises.
You're just one of the Larry, that's just one of the many reasons why I hate roads. You know I hate
Yeah,
roads.
I
That's
know,
one of the reasons
obviously.
why.
That's
I
why libertarians hate roads.
That and I was promised flying cars, man. I'm not even kidding. Like,
No
what a
flying cars, no
disappointment.
jetpacks, nothing.
Yeah, what a disappointment, man. Like,
Absolutely.
so I hate roads. That's why it's destroyed small town life.
The reality of it is, those interstates should have exits that go into towns.
Why not,
So
man?
you
What would
go
be
into a
smart about that?
town and you want to get some gas on the town, you want to grab the local diner at the town or whatever, and you go into the town and spend some money. No, now the interstate, you just go and give the government and big franchises money. So we even made sure that didn't work. And that's just so the government get money for tolls. We even blew that. We even made roads bad. We screwed it all up. All up.
We have, but there's got to be a path back, right? I mean, let's throw out a couple more things. Like, I don't want to change the subject because we're on a great thing, but people are frustrated with the DEC for things like you need a permit to hunt and fish on your own property, regardless of how responsibly you're managing your own property. You've got to pay the tax man to get it. And Jamie Vanderwalker put out $44 million worth of revenue collected off of just licenses, right?
Yep.
Out of 2 million licenses issued, $44 million. That's a pretty good rate of return, don't you think?
I'm with you. My issue is, what are you getting for it?
They stock trout every spring in a bunch of little like side roads. Like they do. They dump buckets and buckets of trout in small feeder streams, which is delicious if you catch them at the right time, right? Like it's
okay, no, but that you're saying it, so that's valuable.
right.
So
That has value. It does.
So then don't pay for a fishing license. Pay
Right.
for the stocking trout license or whatever, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
then you would say, I want to eat some delicious trout. I gotta pay $20 so I can fish for them this year. Okay, fine. They're stocking the trout. I'm
Yeah.
basically buying the trout. It's fine. Again,
we could skip a step there and buy trout directly from the DC and put it in our freezer. That might be as successful. So
that's true, but people like to fish.
yes, they do.
So if you want to go get the trout they put in there, you pay it $20 and you can do it all year long. Oh, how long is the season? Is there a fishing season?
There is. There's several different, and it depends on the species you're fishing for.
So there we go. So
Yeah.
you pay for that, and then again, if you say I hate trout, don't pay for the trout one, right? Don't get trout, whatever. I don't care. All I'm saying is, even if they're gonna pay, if you're gonna pay for something on your own land, then you have to see value in what they're giving.
Right.
And that's if it's just paying for permission, of course people are angry. I don't want to pay for permission. I want you to give me something that I find value in. Right. I don't know what that is. I'm not an outdoorsman enough to know what that is. But if DEC people should be outdoorsmen, and they should have a conversation with the outdoorsman and say, you know what I pay for? I pay for this thing. And DEC says, oh, you pay for that? We'll do that then. Whatever, right? Whatever is the thing that you would happily pay for is the thing the DEC should be doing. And they're not. I mean, it's not even a conversation.
I agree.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So
let me grab some comments if I could.
Do it. Yeah, I'm reading them out of the corner of my eye and they're distracting me anyway.
John says, screw the DEC.
I love John.
I think he's not happy with them.
No, no one in upstate New York is particularly happy with the DEC. And I think it's a shame. They should change that.
David says swamp cops.
Bunny cops. We call them bunny cops up this way, brother.
There we go. Yes. But the problem is, I showed the picture. It's literally police. Literally police.
Yeah.
And I tease and I say, I was saying this before. We just passed in New York State. It's a little bit off, but I think it's going to come right into play. We passed amendment number 2, right? Which was it's now a right in New York State to have a healthful environment.
I know. Wow.
And I said, while that sounded great, that means there's going to be healthful police. There's going to be healthful police.
This is going to go right to the DC.
What I was saying, though, is they're going to have white shirts, not green. They're going to be in green and white or green cars, but white shirts and gold badges. That's what I said. White shirt, gold badges. And they're going to be the healthful police. And they're going to come around and they have their own little cars. And someone's going to pay for those cars. Someone's going to pay for them badges. Those aren't cheap, Tim. Someone's going to pay for them.
Correct.
That's going to be us as they go around giving us tickets because we're not healthful enough for whatever they decide healthfulness is.
Yeah.
So this is happening here too. And to your point, they shouldn't be police. Right? They should be agents.
Right.
Not police. They should be people who help you to conserve the environment, not just punish you. That's the issue.
Aren't we sick of being punished all the time? And look, a couple of comments that I want to, if we get to them, but I want to point something out. The DEC cops have this mandate or this extra authority to invade people's property, to confiscate people's property, to take things. Some guy I know, like his dogs got mixed up with a bear, right? He ends up shooting the bear. He has the right to protect his dogs. He has the right to protect himself. They take all of his guns. They take his dogs. He has to go to court to fight for these things back. And it's like, guys, prove your case before you steal this guy's stuff. And there's no way that they could have proved the case. If dogs are tangling with a bear, it's an unfortunate situation, but you have a right to protect your dogs and your property and yourself from a bear, regardless. Yep. And there's no hunting season in our area for bears, but we're getting to the point where there should be, okay? Like there's bears that come down and raid our garbage cans. They're a growing population of bears. One more thing about the DC, they love beavers, and beavers build their own infrastructure that destroys our infrastructure.
That's also true. Shelley says DEC is the most police power in the state.
Correct. They don't need warrants where other cops need warrants, right? They can open up your trunk and be like, I think I smell a dead deer. They open up your trunk, you have a gun, they take your gun, they take your tools, whatever. They have too much power. And I'm not saying that the people in the system abuse that power, but the temptation when you have that kind of power, it's always there. Like it's always
It shouldn't
there.
matter whether they can or can't. They should not be able to. I mean, whether they do or don't, they should not be able to.
Correct. We've given
not be able to
power.
Yes. Due process matters always.
Why wouldn't it?
Always.
It goes back to the founding of the country. It's one of the things that made our country successful, made individual rights and liberties important, and took a lot of power away from the state and gave it to our communities. Due process, it was the thing that stopped kings from saying, you know what, I don't like Tim. He's in a can. That's it. We put him in a cage. I don't have to listen to him anymore. That's it.
What the government is supposed to do, right, is the bigger the government, I should say the further away it is, right? The federal state government is supposed to stop local communities from being jerks.
Right.
That's what it's supposed to be, right? Because now in your town, nobody likes Tim. So we are going to go over and, I don't know,
put him in a cage.
We're gonna spit on his lawn every day because we don't like him. So then you get the government to go and go, stop spitting on Tim's property.
Get off the lawn.
Yeah. Get off Tim's lawn. Right? That's what you do. Exactly. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
But they don't do that.
No, they don't.
Alice says DEC doesn't do the job they're supposed to for the people. I think you're right, Alice. And I want to be forward. I've met many DEC people. They've come to my events. Most of them, I mean, like 9 in 10, they actually agree with you and want to do better. Most of them have actually joined. You know, it's going to sound weird when I say it, but it's in a way, it's almost like cops. Cops don't want to be profit centers, right? No one joins the police force going, I cannot wait to write tickets. It is going to be so awesome. No cops thinking that. Cops want to go after bad guys and then they get stuck becoming profit centers, right?
Yes.
DEC people don't join a DEC going, I cannot wait to punish some guy for not wearing an orange hat. No one's thinking that. They're all thinking, I love the environment. I want to protect it. I want us to enjoy New York State. They're all thinking that.
Yes.
And then they wind up becoming, I don't know, the swamp cops.
The boss says revenue's down this month, fellas. We got to do something, right? Like, isn't that kind of what has to happen? That's what's going on. So then they go out, they start writing tickets, ticket after ticket after ticket. Oh, good. We don't have quotas, but you've done a great job. I'm going to put you in for a citation. So there's rewards for this stuff.
So we have to change the system. That's the issue. It's a systemic change we have to make. It's an environmental change. You hear me say all the time, I don't hate the player, I hate the game. Right?
Correct.
Change the game. These guys are playing the game they're given. Let's change the game. And they'll play differently. That's the issue. And I'm sure there's some jerks. There's jerks in every field. I'm sure there's jerks in DEC too. There's jerks.
Yeah.
And those guys get booted if the environment's better.
Yeah. Petty tyrants tend to go to places where they get to exert their petty tyrancy. Does that, I mean, I'm making up words probably, but like that's the vibe, right? Like,
yes,
I can go to the DC and be a tyrant. I can literally, like, your tax collector. Sometimes your tax collector might be a petty tyrant, or your town assessor might be a petty tyrant and has just found their niche in life. And I think that's unfortunate. And I'd get rid of them all, man.
Here we go. Joe says, is it true that a DEC cop can inspect your property without a warrant?
Especially outside of your house, okay? They can go through your car for, as my understanding, they can go through your car for whatever reason you want. Now, if they see, let's say they see eagle feathers in the driveway in the front of your house, you can bet they can go in your house too. Like, they'll go right in your freezer. They'll go right in your attic. They will search your house. This is a fact. Sometimes you got to kind of like go, oh man, if somebody's killing an eagle, I don't want that to happen, and I want them to get punished. But they could still make their case, right?
No, look, you saw me. I think the best example I can give you is when they first got Cuomo, I kept my mouth shut.
You did great, man. I know
I kept my mouth shut.
I told you.
I did. I kept my mouth shut. People were all over. I was like, nope. And I said it out loud, and I'll say it again. Even a horrible human being like our former king Cuomo, he deserves due process. I don't want to say it coming out of my mouth. It sounds bad, but it's still true. Everyone deserves due process. Everyone, no exception. You get due process. I'm glad they got him. I'm glad he's out. I'm very glad. And when it was over, I was jumping for joy. I was a little bit petty. I was very happy. But I kept my mouth shut until it was done. So even if some guy's shooting an eagle, the guy deserves due process. Then I hope they hammer him. I hope. Correct. Assuming he did it, then they just decide, oh, I don't like Tim. Let's just say he shot an eagle.
Correct, right? And so look, if a DC officer sees evidence, he can get a warrant, right? He can call up a judge and get a warrant. He can go through due process just like every other cop. As it stands now, they come in, they take your guns, they search your house, they keep your guns. You have to prove that you get them back, and that, my friends, is a problem. Okay.
Yes.
So the famous story is the DC was used like in the drug war, and they still are being used in the drug war. The state police have DC agents that they know they can call, that can meet them at a road stop to say, I think this guy might have killed a squirrel illegally. And then they get to search his car and they find, 2 ounces of pot, and that kid goes to jail. It's bullshit. Right. I mean, baloney. Excuse my language, guys. Like,
it's fine. No, it's horseshit. It is.
Okay, thank you.
It totally is. Yes,
thank you.
Well, then worse. Then they're going to use a SAFE Act violation and put the kid in jail even longer.
Oh God, the SAFE Act is the worst. And so, look, let's go into that for a second. I
opened up a bad can of worms. I'm sorry. I should have said nothing.
No. I think that there's a lot of Republicans out there that aren't really Republicans. Okay, that they're libertarians, and that they don't understand that the Republican Party has left New York State a long time ago. And I'm not saying that. Again, I always try to separate the systems. Don't hate the player, hate the game, from the people. There's individual. I like my assemblyman, right? Like, I like him. He's fighting for freedom. He talks about conservative things more than I would, but I got here from being a conservative, so I respect his views. I mean, I respect everybody's views, but when we get there, this I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought, Larry. Sorry about that.
No worries. Joe said something very important.
All right, let's see it.
Right there.
Boom.
So please, guys, if you want to support me trying to make things happen, I got a 20K money bomb going on. LarrySharp.com/20K. You can click on that if you want to. The link's right there. If you want to help me support, I got a 20K, meaning a $20,000 check waiting from a donor. If I can raise 20K, he will give me 20K. It happens to be a he in this case. He will give me 20K, and he's waiting on it because he wants to prove that I can actually make the money. Why would it be 20K? Because 20 plus 20 equals 40, and that's how much a poll costs. A poll costs $40,000. So we can actually have one set for January if we do this here in December. And this goes until Giving Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow, please, Giving Tuesday, help me out and make this happen. So yes, thank you, Joe. That was a smart move. I appreciate that.
That Joe he's on top of things. I've seen his comments. He gets libertarian philosophy. He gets things, and he's proactive. And that's what it's going to take. And so Giving Tuesday, I have some people in mind. I think probably Larry Sharp, maybe Queeter. And then look, guys,
I like Queeter.
There's people out there that are in disaster. So I've got 3 things in mind that I'm going to give some money to. One is Larry, one is Tom, and then I have to kind of flip a coin because I got a tough situation where I have a friend who really suffered a former military guy, suffered some ravages from getting sick. And then I have 2 young men that basically lost their dad a few years ago, and now their mom is in the hospital with a very serious illness. So guys, if you know me, you know who I'm talking about. For Giving Tuesday, take a look at all of these. Take a look at Larry Sharp. Take a look at Thomas Daniel Queeter. Take a look at I'll post links because I don't want to say their name on the show because Larry's so popular. Who knows? Like, I don't want to offend people. Sometimes they want to be private, but they still want money. So I'll post it on my page. So check those things out. These people all need help. That. And Larry's going to change the shape of New York State. Queeter is going to change the shape of New York State. These are this is your kid's future, guys. This is an anti-authoritarian move for New York State. It can have repercussions throughout the country. It's a big, big deal to me.
100%.
Larry.
Jericho says, yes, conservation is super important, but plenty of hunters and fishermen would pay into that voluntarily.
She's right.
Yes, Jared, that's my point. And the problem is, I'm wondering, when has the government said, hey, hunters and fishermen, what services do you need that would work on a mass level like what government can do, that you would like to have some, say, uniform rules or regulations that you'd like to have some uniformity on, guidelines on what you like? What could we create that you'd be happy to pay for? And I'm sure that people, I'd pay for this, that, and this. Done. Create the guidelines. And again, you don't even have to make it rules. For example, you could say the government will decide what it believes is the safest type of, as an example, clothing, or most effective camouflage, or most effective, what the best color orange, whatever, right? And then create it and say, if companies produce it, they get a government stamp. And then companies could pay the government for that stamp if they want it. And then you can decide if you want to purchase the government authorized materials or not. If you think the government doesn't do it well, you don't buy it. If you think it does it well, you buy it. Again, the government can make money by people voluntarily deciding to get something that they think the government can do well. All good. No worries whatsoever. Absolutely. Nicole says New York State government using law enforcement as a profit center. I know this to be unequivocally true.
It is true. It is true. It's one of the most unfortunate and under-discussed situations and problems with our life in New York State. They're absolutely everywhere you look.
Avi says the left, defund and abolish the police. Also the left, uses law enforcement as a profit center. You're not wrong, Avi.
No, you're not. He is not wrong. Not wrong at all. He is not
Absolutely.
wrong.
Daniel says, it surprises me that New York City's government building department does anything correctly.
But they do.
But again, when you have a system to where everything's aligned, right? That's when it works naturally. DOB, if stuff isn't getting built in New York City, a lot of people are losing money. right? Stuff's got to get built in New York City. Daniel, Daniel used to live in New York City. He knows. Stuff's got to get built. If it's not getting built, they're losing money. That happens. They're going to go to DOB and go, why isn't anything getting built? What is going on? And they can't go, it's not safe. They're all fired if they say that. Like, they're gone. They're fired. Right. The commissioner is removed. The mayor will lose the next election. Like, it's over. It's done. So they have to build things. But at the same time, if buildings start collapsing in New York City, same thing. People getting fired. Yeah. So same idea. So they are totally in line with building safely. They have to. Building safely is the way they both have to go down the same road. We have to create that same type of environment. And that's what we don't have upstate. So yes.
Agreed.
Alice says they look for traffic infractions too when they weren't in the right about to run us off the road for it. That's good. Yes. Is that right? I didn't even know DEC can deal with traffic violations. Is that true?
That is probably true. They have a broad spectrum of powers, right? And they certainly have way more rights to search your property than the police do. So I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but maybe. And Alice is pretty sharp. Like, she's on top of a lot of things. So I would have to say it's possible and plausible.
The sad part is we shouldn't believe that, but we do. Like, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Plausible, right?
We should be saying, no, there's no way, Alice. That's what we should be saying. But it's New York. We're like, no, she's probably right.
That sounds about right. About right.
That shows our state.
Right? I know, bro. I know.
We should be telling her. We should be thinking she's crazy. But we're like, no, she's probably right.
She's probably right. She's probably right. Yeah.
That's terrible. Matt says, I've never dealt with DEC since I live in PA, but the PA Game Commission is big on hiding in the woods or sneaking onto private property to try to find people in big gotcha attempts. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that New York DEC? I haven't heard those types of things. Does that happen here too?
They do a little bit of that stuff with they have so check this out, Larry, right? They have what are they, model deer or robot deer that they place in fields that look like trophy deer and they move a little bit like deer. So what they're trying to do is basically entice people into shooting at them from the road. And so then the DEC officers someplace nearby, they either get the license plate or they make an automatic arrest or they catch people jacklighting. So there's a little bit of a kind of an entrapment scenario and they definitely get away with it. All it takes is firing a shot at this animal in a field out of, you have to hunt between sundown and sunset. And you can't shoot from the road, which, guys, that makes sense. Okay, don't be shooting from the road. That's dumb. All right. But I don't know. I'm on the fence about that one.
Yeah, that isn't as bad to me.
Correct, right? Somebody took a proactive step that seems inappropriate. I get it.
Because you got to actually like stop and get out the car.
And be wrong. Like, that's not even a deer and you just shot it, you idiot. Yeah. So, like, that's a problem.
So I'm kind of okay with that one. I'm not okay with them, sneaking on a private property and finding people. That I'm not okay with, right?
Right.
But if they throw a fake deer out there and you decide to stop in the back of your pickup truck and put your feet up and start shooting, well,
maybe you should get you
should get fined.
You should get fined. But I think one of the things that really concerns people is they make a mistake like that. All right. Then the DC takes all their guns, all of them.
Yeah. That's wrong.
That seems wrong as well. They take all of their guns, lock them up, sell them at a yard sale. I don't know what they do with them. They
probably take them home.
They probably
take them home.
There may be cases of that having happened around here. I don't know.
Yes.
I got a conundrum for you, Larry. And so last summer we were putting a boat in the water, right? And there's like a couple of college kids at the boat launch, the DC built boat launch. And they're kind of like, hey, let us help you put it in. And they're working for the DC. And they're like, hey, we want you guys to know about invasive species and how long has your boat been out of water and like, should we spray it down? We've got some like treatment here to make sure that, there's no invasive species left on the boat even. And I'm kind of like, I wanted to be mad, right? I was like, DC, like, got kids. This is obviously a government jobs program. This is obviously make work. And then I'm kind of like, I'm almost like that has value to me. Like they got a couple kids out there helping people put their boats in. The kids were like really polite, really nice. They were having fun. I felt like tipping them, but I didn't have no cash because I was in my like beat up shorts, and they were really helpful. They kind of presented us with a lot of information.
So
And
what's the bad part?
right, I couldn't be mad about it. That's my problem. I'm like, this is growing government and this is a government jobs program. And then I'm like, nah, it's okay.
Well,
It's a service, right? It had value to me.
And my point is, if it was providing a service and you felt valuable, that's not a bad thing. The problem is that was probably free.
Right, right. No, that was
When that you should have probably paid for.
right, exactly.
So what if the kids had said, hey, we have this spray that you could use. It costs, I don't know, $50, and we'll spray it on your boat if you want. And you might have been like, yeah, do me a favor, spray that. $50, go ahead. Then no, everybody's happy.
Yeah. And they were totally cool. They're like, look, if your boat's been out of the water for a week, we don't worry about it, right? It's no big deal. And this is straight from the DC. They're like,
yeah.
But if we get too many of these here, this is going to invade. And we did have a bout with zebra mussels in our lake where these are like sharp little mussels and they have no value other than to cut your feet wide open when you go in the water, which is a real pain in the butt. You know what I mean? So I felt I kind of didn't hate the DC on that one. And I kind of was like, this provides value. So why doesn't the DC focus on that?
I'm with you. You literally just said you like that. So why isn't DEC doing that every year?
And more of it, right? We'd love them for
Absolutely.
stuff like that,
Absolutely. Yes. It's great. I love it right there. Perfect. Yes. So Richard's
go ahead. Yeah, please. Comments.
Matt says, I had a game commission officer try to kick me off my parents' property in the middle of small game season. Nothing came of it other than a wasted day of not getting to hunt. Well, that sucks. Your own property? That's what drives me crazy. Your own property?
Well, that's the thing. You have to have a license on your own property to hunt. You have to have a license on your own property to fish. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people because you're already paying taxes. You're already abiding by all the other laws and rules. So, it doesn't seem right.
Wow.
And
Avi says New York State has an EVU. It doesn't have an EVU. It needs an EVU.
Right.
How about a GVU? Government Victims Unit. Love that.
Right.
Avi, love that. That victims unit that has been abused and molested by the state government, tasking us to death, spending us broke, and they always blame us, the taxpayer, and always demand more. Yeah, I like that. Until they stop creating victims and pretending the government gives a rip about victims. Victims just a political prop for the state to moralize the corrupt and power mad behavior. Avi, killing it tonight. Look at you go. The GVU,
brilliant, man. Yeah, I see some of his other stuff too. I like that guy, man. He does a good job. Yeah,
I love that. Mr. Dayton, Jimmy says, why didn't they mask the deer before hunting season? They have COVID. Media told me so. I did actually hear that.
No, it's actually true, right? They're finding antibodies in deer. And look, that goes to the COVID thing. And I think I want to give my brain a rest from the COVID thing. But COVID's not it's not going away, man. It has an animal reservoir. That means it's going to mutate back into the human population. And we have to find a way to deal with it. Human bodies develop immunity over time, okay? They develop resistance. A virus only wants to replicate. That's all it really wants to do. We need to find healthy, environmentally friendly ways of dealing with COVID that we don't damage.
I think we should mask the deer. I think he's right.
He's sharp. Yeah, he's right. Let's mask him. Let's just optional mask.
Jamie says shoot them all. That would solve the problem. She's right.
My
no
car
more deer COVID.
My car would agree. My car has hit 2 deer that I wish had been shot before I hit the deer, for sure.
There we go.
They're both bucks. They would have been nice trophies for people, for sure.
Shelly says, how do you know Prattsville? I'm impressed. You don't understand. Me and Tim, we've been around.
We know things. We know
we've been around.
I've been driving through Prattsville for about the last 4 months, practically every single day.
Yes.
And it would be a perfect place for a gas station for my travels. It's about halfway between where I'm going and where I'm coming from. And I'd like to stop and get a cup of coffee, put gas in my car, and maybe grab a snack, which I can get coffee at the Prattsville Diner and a snack. So certain parts of it work out. But I asked at the Prattsville Diner, I'm like, why don't you guys have a gas station? They're like, DC, that stream out there. Rah, 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 rah. And I was like, I understand. I live next to Delaware County, right? And the DC is going to work up here, just basically buying up property and basically then writing laws and then taking it off the tax roll. And it's like we're destroying these counties. And Otsego is the county I'm in, feels the brunt of that or feels part of
Yeah.
that by loss of economic activity, and it hurts
Yes.
us all, and we don't realize it. And
And
no
it's
one,
not only economic. I mean, it is economic, but it's something else too. There's a quality of life that we begin
yeah,
to
man.
lose. And people say, it's going to sound crazy, but you know this. You see it all around you. People leave New York State for different reasons. Some people purely economic, some lifestyle, but it's different for different people. So if I'm still having a decent economic lifestyle in New York State, but I can't do the things I love for the reason that I live in New York State, why stay here? And the example I'll give you is people in New York City, people who live in Manhattan. There's a lifestyle in Manhattan that you want. That's why you live in Manhattan, right? Because you want that lifestyle. You
Not that
want to
I
be
want.
able, you don't,
I'm
right? But that's,
kidding.
you
I'm
know what I'm saying?
kidding. I'm kidding
The
with you,
people
brother.
who live in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
They want the lifestyle to where they can go to the Met. They want to
Right.
be able to walk in Central Park. They want to be able to
Right.
do the things that you pay a premium to live in Manhattan to do. That's why you live there. You want to be
Right.
able to do those things. Well, all of a sudden now you can't do them. They're still making money. They can still afford to live in Manhattan. And they leave because the lifestyle changes. They
Correct.
wanted that lifestyle. That's why they spent the money to live there. Well, Greene County is the same thing. You live there because you want a lifestyle. And when that lifestyle goes away, you go, why am I still here? I moved to this place because I like this place. I want this lifestyle. And when you lose that, you leave. So economic, yes. And I'm going to add on top of that, Tim, also lifestyle.
Yeah, Larry, I can't even tell you how many people that I know have just fled the state recently. Okay, so we lost 2 million, so we lost a seat in at the assembly, right, or the federal government. It's worse now. People are fleeing this state at an accelerated pace, and it's guys and girls that are entrepreneurially minded, that are dedicated to their lifestyle, that are dedicated to individuality. We're losing them at an alarming pace. We're losing small businesses. We're losing craftsmen, tradesmen, plumbers. They can go any place and make a living, any place, okay, with less hassle. So that brings me to something else I really, really hate about the DC. I like that they work hard to provide access to waterways for people, and they maintain hiking trails, right? But what they do is they've internalized that process. So they send out a crew, they build a launch, and those things used to be put out to the community for bids. All right. So guys like me who make a living with their hands, or even slightly bigger construction companies, have an opportunity to participate in that. Okay. And that is a better system because then the DC says, oh, look, we saved you a bunch of money, right? But then when they're building these things, you can go to any lumberyard and see an $80,000 DC truck with 5 dudes coming in to grab a cup of coffee and 4 screws. All right. They hide the numbers, they whitewash the totals, and they move it off. And then they say, look, we saved you money. And they didn't. They fleeced the taxpayer. They're lying by sins of omission. And bro, I lose my mind when I see that story told. And it happens around here all the time because the media doesn't go and investigate that there's 5 guys there for 3 weeks that would cost a regular construction firm 40 grand. And then the DC gets to say, we did that project for $17,000. And it's like, you didn't, you liars. You liars, you're lying. You're fleecing the taxpayer, and that's nonsense.
And I'm going to walk down that same Harbor Road. Wouldn't it be nice if there was something like, I don't know, a local business that could sponsor the growth of that?
It would be. We could do that, right?
Yeah.
The DC being a service organization could say,
I'll go one step further.
Do
a
it.
Construction company could do it.
Maybe
Literally,
right.
A local construction company, right? Tim's Construction Company could literally build this out and have their name on it, supplied, free of charge by Tim's Construction Company. Here's the phone number and the website.
How cool would that be, right?
Every person who comes there now sees that. They want to get their house built. They want to get a new deck put on. They call up Tip because these guys gave us this cool launch. Aren't they awesome?
Man, what a great idea. I didn't even think of that. I just thought of I could bid on jobs like that. And the DC could say, hey, and look.
No, I don't want the taxpayer to pay for it at all.
I love it. That's why you breached and I followed. That's why.
I love it, man. Because the reality of it is, if it's your company and you do it, you already have a crew of people and you can do it whenever you have time off.
Correct.
So you got time off. Your boys don't have work. Hey, it's time to build out these launches. Let's go. Yeah. You build it out. It's done. You just did your marketing for the year.
Yeah, now the DC would come and fine you for your generous
No, because in my world, one of them comes with you and you pay the $500 up front and you build it with his specifications. They can't fine you.
Yeah, I know. Right now they would, though, and that's,
But you see what in my way, they don't do that. They get a couple bucks to do it, right? They still get their stamp on it because look what DEC did, but provided by Tim's construction company.
Approved by the DC. We love it.
Bingo.
They could advertise for themselves and really save the taxpayer lots 100%. Of money. Sure.
Absolutely. 100%. So you do that, changes everything, changes it all, right? Yeah. And is Tim's construction company with their name on it locally going to want that thing to collapse?
No, God, no. Like, it can't be horrible garbage, but like, I could see a situation where you'd be like, the DC made me build it this way and smash that up there too, so that people see that, because I could just see some of their plans being either inferior or problematic, but I'm just saying,
it's possible. But again, this also has a DEC stamp.
Right.
Plus, the DEC doesn't want you to fail because they want to keep using you.
Correct. And they like the concept, right? People get access to our waterways and people self-police. That's one of the things. Hunters self-police the environment, right? If a hunter's out hunting and they see somebody's been dumping 55 gallons of green sludge that's obviously killing this entire field, a hunter is going to be the first person to call DC. And we treat, I don't know, we get in these weird places in our state. Like, again, we get to this red team versus the blue team. The blue team happens to be winning. So they're constantly trying to find ways to maintain their power and demonize people that they don't quite understand. And I think upstate New York bears a huge brunt of that. It's a real problem.
Absolutely. Well, by the way, Jordan also hates roads.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm with you.
There we go.
Yes. I am. I hate them. I want flying cars, man.
Absolutely. Yes. Alice says our roads are a disaster. So, man, this is the anti-road show. There we go. I love it. There we go.
That's right.
Everyone likes roads here. I love it. Absolutely. Just hate them like there's no tomorrow. Absolutely. I will ask one thing of you guys for a moment. If you don't, please like, comment, and share. I bring it up all the time, particularly if you are a New Yorker and particularly upstate or even Long Island, where this is an issue where it affects you. Let people know we're talking about it and trying to fix things, make things better with new ideas, new ways of making things happen. And as you always hear me talk about, I'm never about punishing the people in the agency. I'm always about fixing the agency, because I honestly believe that the people in the DEC, they didn't join to be profit centers. They joined to do the right thing. And the system has turned them into that. But there's some jerks.
Remember, petty tyrants that get kind of drawn to these
things. It's true. There's some petty tyrants. But the average person there is trying their best to do the right thing. We have to make a better system. Absolutely. So please like, comment, share. And if you want to support me crossing this state again, LarrySharp.com/20K, $20,000 money bomb today and tomorrow. We're able to raise enough money. I get another check for 20 grand. 20 plus 20 is 40, which means I can buy a poll. I can be in the polls. If I'm in the polls, I'm a player. Do you want me to be a player? You got to help me out. LarrySharp.com.
Please do that. Please. A couple bucks, like $5, $10, $20.
Awesome.
What you can do can make a difference, guys. It can make a difference. It's a big deal. Larry shares his platform with everyone.
This is true.
And guys, like, who else is talking about the people fleeing New York State? Not the Democrats, not the Republicans. They want to ignore those issues. Larry wants to confront them head on. Tim O'Connor wants to confront them head on. Queter wants to confront them head on. We've got to find a better way. And Larry is a better way, guys. I don't know, man. Am I losing my mind here? I don't think I am, Larry. I think I'm right.
I don't mind if you are. Just keep talking. I don't care. It's all good. Yes. Jamie says conservationists will pay money to stick and maintain species. I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I think she means save, but that's okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I 100%. Yes. I totally agree. Robert likes our show. He says, good show, boys. He likes it.
Thanks, Robert.
Yes.
Appreciate
And
it.
Shelly's learning get off my lawn.
I like yes. Get off my lawn.
Yes. It is very true. Absolutely. So John says, if you were to be governor, what would you do for upstate and Western New York? Oh my God, John. So much. I could spend 16 shows on just that. So I'm already talking about a DEC, Safe Act, just name it for you. Go ahead. Tim, you say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, actually I want to do, because I want people like John to understand how responsive you are to upstate New York, right? There was like the kerfuffle, the Floyd incident was horrible, awful time. All right. You came up with a great plan that would solve a lot of problems for densely populated urban areas. That was not particularly suited for upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to you. I'm sure other people did too. And you automatically, like, boom, next thing you know, you're doing a show on it. You got a guy from upstate New York that's in law enforcement, and you want to talk to that guy. It's different in upstate New York. I play softball with guys on from the sheriff's department. I've drank beers with them, Larry. I mean, it's different. They're not brought in from outside of our community to enforce things on us. But guys, any qualified immunity, that's an absolute. It's got to happen. Larry stuck by that, but he listened to what I had to say. I sent him a message. Calls me up. I'm just like, oh my God, whoa. This was almost too intense for me. Like it kind of scared me a little bit, but I got my head back together and I'm like, all right, so this guy's serious. This is real.
Yes.
It's
and
real.
I literally got a law enforcement officer from upstate. We sat there and I adjusted my plan.
Correct.
Because again, I'm biased too, right? It's where I live. It's how I think. It's what I see. There's no way I can understand everything. So when people say, hey, you don't understand something, I go, okay, educate me. Show me what I don't know. I've never had to deal with law enforcement in a rural area. So how would I possibly know till someone shows me and goes, hey, this is how it actually works. It's different. And
yes,
the conversation we had, if you remember, was enlightening for me.
Larry, it was great. You were just like, I explained one thing I explained. Number one, I play basketball, softball with these guys. Number two, right, they're valuable members of our community. Number three, if it's somebody that I don't know, it will take 2 phone calls at the most to find someone that does know them if they're being a problem. That's entirely different. And so I did a show trying to explain to people that that's entirely different than the experience in densely populated urban areas where Section 8 housing and people are condensed and they hire cops for their ability to I want to say hunt. Is that to find bad guys to kind of go after and enforce some of these picayune laws to kind of keep our system working? Like, hey, we arrested 12 kids for marijuana and now generate revenue and maybe put a couple in jail for a few days or maybe even longer than that because of a strikes rule. It's different. Okay. It's different than what we experience up here. I'm glad that we've eased back on this punishment of marijuana. The drug war itself is a failure. It's an absolute failure. Zoning is a failure. These are things we got to fix, man.
Brian K. Yes, I'd like to see where the New York State DEC exemption to the Fourth Amendment is. You call yourself a libertarian? Ask that question. Where you been, Brian? That's all we've been saying.
We hate that.
You're not paying attention?
Your ability to
what show are you watching? I don't know. All I can tell you is there's a lot of people who call themselves libertarian. I hope I've shown that I am libertarian, not just called myself one. I hope I have shown it. You got to pay attention, Brian. I love you, brother. Keep watching.
Yeah, keep watching. And let me give him a shout out because I think that occasionally maybe he's just trying to be like sometimes us upstaters want to be confrontational and say, hey, the DC violates the Fourth Amendment. And that may be what he's saying because I don't think you or I were like okay with the DC being able to go in your car, go in your house.
Literally, I said everyone deserves due process every time.
Every single person. It's part of what stopped tyranny, right? Like,
yes,
it was a big check to tyranny.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So, Quita's on. Quita, my brother, how are you? Good to see you. I guess you heard us talking about you, so your ears were ringing. So he said, "Hold on, what are these guys saying?" He thought you were talking trash, Tim. He was like, "Tim's talking trash about me. I better get on."
That's right. That's right. I wouldn't.
So, yes.
I kind of do. I love the man, though. I love him.
He says, "A late friend. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Had his hunting camp raided at night years ago. Yeah." And then he goes on. He says, "Technically, the DEC has more authoritarian power than the troopers or sheriffs." Wow.
Right.
Wow.
They do. He's right. He's absolutely right. And that's one of the problems with New York State, right? It's one of the problems.
Absolutely. All right. Here's a story. Lee says, years ago, myself and a couple of buddies mooned one of those robot deer. Yes. DEC was not impressed, but did move the robot. There we go. So that's how you handle it. He's got to moon it.
Get him out of the area.
That's how you handle it. That's how you get rid of those pesky fake deer. So these are some of the comments I want to pull that came from the post that I put up. And one of them says, permission to pollute as long as you're well connected politically. Is that true?
Well, that goes to what you said, right? If you're willing to pay the fines and you still see profit, pollute like crazy. Pay the fines.
Yes.
I made my profit.
Yes.
It's not okay.
And something else is they negotiate.
Oh yeah. Well, they negotiate because they have lawyers to negotiate with their lawyers.
That's correct.
Who negotiate over an expensive dinner that probably the taxpayer pays for, or
that's exactly right.
The project manager, right? Like, come on.
Yes.
Man.
So Ryan says, make regular deer season shorter and add more officers per region.
My car disagrees with that. My car wants less deer on the road when I'm driving to work. Period. That's it.
So why would someone want shorter deer seasons?
I think less deer harvested. I think that some people are pro deer. Okay. But I think that hunting is a little bit misunderstood, right? There's this issue of if you're a proficient hunter, you can provide for your family regardless of the economic situation, regardless of the governmental situation, you're proficient. So people hunt for a lot of reasons, but the number one reason that people hunt is to put food in their freezer. And so vegans, and I think that there is a distinct portion of the environmentalist population that pro animal rights.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I understand it. It's okay. But we have to come to an agreement. They're not our enemies. We just have to accept that they can be anti-deer harvest, but we can still be pro-deer harvest, and we want to be pro-humane deer harvest. This brings me up. Some people might want to debate this one, and I kind of want to see what people think. One of my friends brought up, it's illegal to bait deer in New York State, and it does seem to take some of the challenge out of hunting, right? Where you dump a big pile of corn out there and the deer come up and eat it, and you harvest the deer off of that. But my buddy brought up the point, like, it's legal in so many other states, and here's why it's legal. It's a very efficient and effective way to deliver a shot, right?
Right.
So you have less wounded deer, less lost deer, and less wasted protein and less waste, right? Less wasted bullets, less wasted time. So I was kind of on the fence about that one because it seems to take some of the
but see, it's bogus, and here's why. Because what I could do if I wanted to, figure out what the deer like to eat, plant that in the open field, they'll come out and eat anyway.
Correct.
So I can create
food. They call it food plots. People do that, and
food plot. I can just make a food plot.
They plant alfalfa, guys. You plant alfalfa patches. Deer love alfalfa, and it makes their horns grow big. So that's real. All right.
So they come on out, and I shoot them anyway. So what's the difference?
There is no difference. And so baiting deer maybe shouldn't be illegal. I was on the fence about it because it offended my sportsman sensibilities. I used to hunt a lot when I was younger. I don't really hunt so much anymore.
All right. If you don't, but the issue is if you don't want to, and you want to be the predator, and you want to go out there and go hunt Arnold Schwarzenegger, then go ahead. We just dated ourselves. So if you want to go out and go and be the predator and go hunt Arnold Schwarzenegger, go ahead. I don't mind. But maybe somebody else just wants to put a little bit of venison in the freezer. They throw a couple pieces of corn out and they get some venison. I think it's fine either way.
I agree. All right. And especially on your own land, you should those rules should be like on state land. All right. Maybe you shouldn't be able to carry corn onto state land, dump it in a spot and shoot a deer. But on your own land, I don't see why there would be any restriction on it, really.
Absolutely.
Basically, it's almost your deer anyway, really. It's your property, your deer. You shot it. Chill.
Absolutely.
DEC.
John says, with the COVID mandates and the firing of thousands of people, do you have any plans to get them back to work and comp them for the unconstitutional firing? The reality of it is by the time I get into office, it's going to be January of 2023. The odds of me being able to do anything that has any value to these people anymore, to be forward with you, is slim to none. I wish I could yell and screaming and blow smoke up your butt if you want me to, but I'm being forward. It's too late. The damage for these people is already done. What I can do is make sure this never happens again. That I can do by very simply creating simple rules like mandates are not the way of doing things. There will be no mandates, right? So there will be no mandates. Showing people the right way and using government the only way that makes sense to use government, which is a central repository for all the information, not just the government approved information.
Oh God, thank you, Larry. My
so that
God,
people can go there and look at it and decide what they think is best for their own life, for their own world, make their own decisions to the best of their ability. That I can do. Now, can I somehow comp them? Probably not, to be forward. Probably not. I could try. Maybe see if there's some way we can go back with promotions and such. But the damage is so hard for so many of these people. Many of them are leaving the state. So even if we fire 10,000, 5,000 will leave the state, John, and won't come back. We're going to lose them. That's the damage being done. They're going to go someplace else. We're not going to see them again. So I have to somehow keep the 5,000, which I would immediately rehire, of course, right? So they get their jobs back, of course, right? Without question.
That mandate gone. It's gone.
Of course, they get their jobs
One
back right away.
executive order from Larry Sharp, and that's lift this crazy mandate, authoritarian spiral nonsense.
So I can get them back. But are you telling me I'm going to start putting people in jail who fought? No, it's impossible. I mean, they were following the orders of our previous king. What am I going to do, right? It's tough for me to do that. And then our new queen, she just follows what the king says. So the plan is to make sure that I let people know this is wrong and unconstitutional. It'll never happen again. Get a Senate that will agree with me, and they will, because once I win the governorship, several of the senators will become libertarian. And when they do, the Senate will now be run by libertarians as a swing vote. So the Assembly, not so much. That's still a work in progress. But the Senate will get right away. So we'll have the Senate and we'll have the governor's house. With that, we have a shot at making some real impact. So we could actually do it. If people decide, well, no, I'm going to go vote for my Democrat and Republican, nothing will change.
Yeah. Can I tell everybody a secret about this whole nursing thing?
Tell me.
We were already lacking healthcare professionals in New York State.
Yes, we were
already bringing in Filipino nurses from the Philippines directly and hiring them to operate to be nurses in New York State. We were already doing that. We got rid of, let's say it's 5% of the nurses in New York State. Let's say it's 4%. Doesn't matter. We created a disaster, and we're not telling the truth about that either, Larry. Like there's stories that should come out, that should be told, and I hope will be told about what's actually going on in our hospitals right now. Like they're cutting services, but they're not serving the people that are in the hospital right now. And it's because it's not the nurse's fault. Okay. It's because they're short-staffed. It's because they have to type every single thing into a computer, every single aspirin they give them, and every length of rubber hose that they use. They have to type it into a computer. People in hospitals were already being underserved. This authoritarian dictate has exacerbated that, and it's real. And the mainstream
we have to stop doing all the licensing issues.
Right. There's one more, right?
Let people work. Let people work.
Correct.
If you want to be credentialed, I don't have a problem with getting credentialed, but you can still work.
Right.
The image what we're having here, for many people don't understand or maybe struggle to get, is all the inflation. Now I can't stop all the inflation. Most of that's coming from the federal government side.
Correct.
But can we buffer it? Yes, we can. Inflation, this is like Econ 101. Inflation is when there's too much money compared to workers and compared to goods and services. So increase goods and services. Let people work. Relax licensing. End the black market. Let people work out in the open. That will buffer inflation. It's not going to stop it. That's impossible for a governor to stop what the federal government's doing. But can it buffer it, make it better compared to others? Absolutely, yes.
We can get
100%.
competitive again, right? We can get freedom. New York could use a dose of freedom. We could compete with Pennsylvania or maybe Tennessee. I doubt we could compete with Tennessee or Kentucky, but like we could
That's
compete
tough.
with Pennsylvania, maybe. You know what I mean? And bring some people back from there. Would be
There we go.
nice.
100%, right? And look, the reality, and I'll say it, and you know this, New York is an amazing, beautiful state.
It is, man. It is, brother. I'm not kidding. I see it
100%.
every day. I'm working, guys. I'm working in one of the most beautiful places in New York, in the heart of the Catskill Mountains. It's amazing. It's gorgeous. There's room to share it with more
Absolutely.
people. There's room. There's 15,000 acres in Otsego County that used to be productive that are gone fallow. Like there's room. There's houses falling in the. I drive to work, Larry, and you can drive past the house and you can see it looks like these people just either disappeared, jumped on a spaceship, took off. Right? There's a car in the driveway. The house is falling in the ground. It hasn't been mowed in weeks. They fled. They fled this situation.
I'm gonna do what I told you so.
Please
because
do.
Back in March of 2020, I said this is gonna get so bad that people is gonna pack up and just leave. Not care if they have a mortgage, not care if they have rent, not care if they got a lease. Just you're gonna walk by and see, wow, has anyone lived here? They haven't mowed a lawn in 6 weeks. What's going on? That's gonna happen. And now, if you go to NewYorkState.gov, there's a thing there called zombie houses. That's what it's called. That's how common this is, Tim. They have a thing for it in the government site called zombie houses.
Otsego County has a solution, Larry. Guess what it is? They're going to speed up tax foreclosures on properties. That's the solution, right?
That'll solve it.
We'll take them. That's it. We'll take them and sell them on the open market. That's what we're going to do.
Which means
that is what got us here. At least,
which means we'll give it to big business and permanent capital like KKR and BlackRock and all the big banks from New York City and the big banks from San Francisco. We'll give them all of the property. This way, everyone in New York State will be a renter and no one will own anything.
And they'll change the zoning for them so that to accommodate them. And they'll give them payments in lieu of taxes to accommodate them because
yes, they will.
That's how we're supposed to do it. That's how we attract business to New York State. We bribe them. We pay them off. We change the rules. Because Oneonta, New York is a case study in what zoning has done. Every single thing that they wanted to do had the opposite effect. They wanted less student housing, so they changed the laws, and now all they got is student housing. And they wanted no like transient rental for Airbnb, and like so it's either student housing or transient rental for Airbnb. So now Oneonta gives away a parking lot to a big developer. They grant him a payment in lieu of taxes, and they change the freaking zoning for this guy so that he doesn't have to have 2 parking spaces per apartment. He only has to have 1. No one else gets that, right? It's an incredible bit of I told you so. I warned you. Like this is something that I've been saying. Don't do it this way. Take care of the properties that are open now. Get people renting them. Bring those people back here. Get rid of some of your mandates about having to have a interior agent. You got to have a guy local to manage your property. Like, stop passing the buck to the landlord if your tenant is screwing things up. If the landlord and tenant can make agreements about garbage, help the tenant and landlord honor that agreement. And
that'd be nice.
It's a zoo, man. It's a zoo. Like so. Landlords are like, first of all, this side hustle sucks. I'm not doing it.
Side hustle
sucks, brother. Like, I can't get rid of bad tenants every single time. Like, they agreed they'd shovel the sidewalk, and now they don't shovel the sidewalk. So the city sends a contractor out and charges me $700 to shovel my sidewalk because I didn't get it done within 24 hours. It happens all the time. So now they're like, we're only renting to Airbnb and students because they'll pay. That's it.
Wow.
And there's no long-term. The housing crisis in upstate New York, the affordable housing crisis in upstate New York was created by the government, by high taxes, by over-regulation, by supporting tenants' rights over landlord rights. And guys, I get it. There's this gray area there that we should be able to honor agreements between 2 people. But we've gone too far, man. And now people don't even have to pay their rent, and they can't even get evicted. Like,
absolutely. Yes.
It's crazy.
So we got some deer stuff. I think it'll be funny.
Oh, okay.
Christy says, I'm pro deer having lives where they're not starving to death.
She's right.
And getting their legs broken on the road and bleeding out in my yard. If that means being humanely harvested to feed people, then all the better. Win-win.
I love Kristen's
Yes.
comment there. Exactly, right? That's what hunting's about, right?
Yes.
We're
Shelley
humans
says,
interacting with their environment.
some idiot shot our neighbor's fake concrete deer. Stupidly, he shot 3 times. It's awesome. Despite seeing that chunks of concrete were falling off a deer. He thought a deer was wearing armor or something. He's like, I got to get the armor off the deer. Third shot, didn't do it.
All right,
Oh
I got
my
this.
God.
I got this story before you go to the next comment. Right, a guy, a famous boxer in our area. He opened up the Oneonta Boys and Girls Club. Great guy, wonderful philanthropist. Went hunting for his first time. He shot a freaking Jersey cow instead of a deer because it was brown and it was like 100 yards away and it's big. So he knocked it right down. Love the guy. The guy's a great humanitarian. He created a wonderful thing. It's for Giving Tuesday, that's one more thing that maybe could use $5-10 is the Oneonta Boys and Girls Club. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But Carl Delberta, like, he was a famous boxer. Like, his first hunting experience, he shot a cow. Not
There
kidding.
we go. Patricia's a little bit off topic, but it's okay. She goes, what's your position on activating the National Guard? I see Hochul is taking a few pages from Cuomo's book. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And let me be very clear about this. If you're pulling someone from the New York National Guard to go into a hospital, where does that person work? In a New York hospital. So you're basically just taking that person from one hospital, moving them to another for less money.
Paying them
so you're
less.
basically just paying them less.
I would quit the National Guard. I'd be like, I'm AWOL, man. I've had it. This
exactly.
is not going to work for me.
And
I'm not going to sign up for the National Guard.
You're taking people who are trauma trained, not hospital trained. Now, there are many people in National Guard who are I was trauma trained when I was in the Marine Corps in the 80s. So you get trauma trained, which is nice. I can't work in a hospital, From the time that I remember, look, if someone takes a bullet, I got you until the EMTs come. That I can do. I can keep you alive until the EMTs come. That's all I got. Nothing else. So that guy should not go into a hospital. And if they are in a hospital, it's going to take months to train them up to work in a hospital. Months.
We can just National Guard everything. It's like the new thing. Just National Guard it. We got a problem, National Guard it.
There we go.
You need something fixed? Kathy Hochul, National Guard.
There we go. Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. So it is a terrible idea. I actually think it was just a threat because she wants to be able to mobilize.
Correct.
It was a threat. And I don't like it at all. It's a terrible idea. I just think it's nothing but bad.
Bad. Mouth's a threat, right?
And bad.
It's like a threat. It's a constant threat. Do this or else.
That's all she knows. It's really bad. So, all right, Tim, we're going to have to wrap this up. Is there anything you want to bring up before we wrap this up?
Oh God, I think I covered everything, but 5 seconds after the show's over, I'll be like, oh, I forgot that. But look, the comments, Larry, I think we had a great show. And brother, once again, it's Giving Tuesday. Once again, Larry Sharp shares his platform. Once again, we need to change the dynamics of governing in New York State. Once again, I get to share platforms here with Larry, a free solution with Larry, Kevin, Craig. Guys, we've got some pros. We're spreading the message of liberty. And Larry, you breached. I followed. I hope I'm helping your cause, brother.
I appreciate it. So where can people find you, Tim?
Well, at Tim for 51 on Twitter and at Tim for 51 on Facebook, right? If you type in the search bar at Tim for 51, you'll get to Tim O'Connor for Liberty. I'm maxed out on my personal friends list. Please friend me on that page. I would like that page to grow. I do a radio show. I do Coffee and Freedom on Saturday mornings. You guys can reach me on Twitter at Tim for Senate. I might change that one, but you can reach me there. Follow me there. I'm also at a limit there, but I follow everyone back. I enjoy the interchange and the conversations that I have. I'm fast-paced kind of talker. And guys, worst comes to worst, if you watch this show and you want to friend me, at least send a message that says, Tim, I saw you on Larry's show. We'll start there, and then I'll direct you to my other pages. Okay, like
here we go.
Let's grow this messaging. Let's have. If you know somebody that should be on Coffee and Freedom on Saturday, I've had Diane Sayer, I've had Jonathan C. Howe, I've had Thomas Daniel Queter, I've had Rich Bertel. I mean, Brenda Hansen, guys, the lady that got Cattaraugus County she led the charge to make it a constitutional county. Localism is a way back, is a way away from this authoritarian spiral, this authoritarian mess that we're in. So, guys, join that show. Check it out. I got to thank everybody for all the great comments, and most of all, though, Larry, I got to thank you for saying this is something we got to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will be on a free solution tomorrow, so you will see me tomorrow morning on that. I will be gone all day Wednesday. I have an ill family member I must take care of, so I'll be gone on Wednesday. But I'll be back here on Thursday on Green Room, and then Friday too. Look, I'm all over the place. We're still back. And then this weekend coming up here, I'm in the Hudson Valley. I'll see you guys up there. Guys, have a great night. Tim, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it, brother.